Good morning, garden friends. Today I'm out here in the blueberry patch behind me, and I'm going to do a little bit of pruning. I'm also going to prune a lilac that's near the house that is in desperate need of pruning, and perhaps tackle the apples, check out the apples and fruit trees and see if they need anything as well. They probably will. So it's the second week of March here in central New Hampshire, and February, March is the perfect time to be pruning things like blueberries and apples because the plants are dormant and the ground is still frozen. They're not going to be growing anytime soon. It's going to be a little while before they start to break their buds. And so this is the perfect time to prune them and do whatever work you need to do to them to get them ready for the upcoming year. Now, this blueberry patch came to us with the house. We didn't plant these. I estimate they're probably 15 to 20 years old based on discussions with the homeowner, previous homeowner. And they really didn't have much done to them over the years. And so over the last 6 or so years, what I've done is every spring I go through, well, March, February, March, early spring, I go through the patch and I cut out one old cane, the oldest cane in the bush. And what that does is it stimulates growth of new canes. And as we go through, you'll see a lot of these bushes have brand new canes that are pushing up. And that just rejuvenates the whole bush. The only other pruning I really do is I cut out anything that's broken, diseased. There's at least one that had a witch's broom growing out of one of the stems. Anything like that I cut out. And anything that is growing taller than the netting structure so that it doesn't interfere with the bird netting that we have to put on the structure to keep the birds out from eating all our blueberries. Other than that, I don't do any drastic shaping of the blueberries. I just kind of let them do their thing. So that's the plan for today. It's a gorgeous day out right now. We've had crappy weather for the last month. Typical, New England winter weather. And today it's almost 50 and it's sunny and I feel like I should be in shorts and flip-flops. I'm so excited. My ideal working temperatures are between 50 and 70. And so I'm thrilled. I could be out here all day working in this weather. So come along with me while I get some chores done. So that's shrub number 1. I'm going to go through the rest of these and do the same thing. I'm going to look for the oldest cane, determine whether there's enough other canes in the bush that if I take that one out, it's not going to hurt production this year. And if so, take it out. Well, that wasn't so bad. I went through and only removed maybe 6 canes from the whole collection. they look pretty good. The 6 years or so of pruning has really cleaned them up quite a bit. And so a lot of the canes, most of the canes look pretty healthy. I'm going to go through these now with my little nippers and cut out some things that are broken. There's a couple that are protruding up above the bird netting structure that I want to get out, taken out. And then I think we'll be in pretty good shape for this year's blueberry season. Here's a good example of some of the things I might prune out with my little nippers. This branch here on this blueberry bush has bothered me for like 2 years now, and I'm just finally going to take it out. It cuts across the aisleway, so when you're picking blueberries, it scratches you and you bump blueberries off. So I'll just prune this out. I'll probably come back to right here. A clean cut. And then I'm going to take this other little bit here out and just cut that back here. Here's an example of a branch sticking up above the bird netting structure. This one right here. Oops. This one right here. So I'm going to cut this back. Probably, I don't want to go too crazy, but I'll probably take this part back here. I think that'll do it. Here's a shrub that is a great example of witch's broom. And I believe this is the same one that I've had growths cut out of before. Right here you can see at the base, there are all these little spindly bits of growth coming out. And a little bit here too. All in here. This is all not normal growth. And yeah, that's not encouraging. I believe witch's broom is caused by a fungus. It is related, I believe, to balsam fir. I'm not exactly sure of how it gets transferred, but it shows up in blueberries quite often. This blueberry bush, I believe, is actually something they dug out of the woods because it doesn't look like any of the other cultivars. The berries look different. So there's no cure for witch's broom. It can be somewhat controlled by pruning this stuff out. This, however, looks like it's this whole base here. So I may try one thing first before the real resolution of the problem is to dig up the bush and burn it. But what I may try to do is get out a hacksaw and just cut this out. And we still have all these canes here that don't yet seem to be affected. So that's sort of the last ditch effort to save this one bush. So I'll do that a little bit later. I may actually need my husband to come out with a chainsaw and see if he can get in there and cut most of it first, and then we can kind of finesse the rest out without damaging the other canes. All right, blueberry's done, I think. Susie's just chilling with me. So I'm sitting here on the ground, enjoying a little bit of sunshine, and this sneaking feeling comes up on me. And if you are from New England, particularly New Hampshire, Massachusetts, the Cape, you know, but it's warming up and the ground is bare. And I'm starting to remember that, oh yeah, I have to be really careful about ticks. We are in a heavy, heavy, heavy tick zone here in New Hampshire. And I get bit probably a dozen times a year by ticks, even though I am vigilant about tucking my pants in, tucking my shirt in, putting DEET on my boots, putting permethrin on my boots. Somehow those little buggers still find me and they bite me every year. I've been lucky in that I haven't contracted anything from them yet that I'm aware of, but I'm trying to get myself back into that mode of always thinking about ticks. One of the joys of living here in New Hampshire. I love it here, wouldn't change it for the world, but I could do without the ticks. yeah. So anyway, I'm going to go out and check the apples and see how they're doing. Now, the apple or fruit orchard, if you will, that I've been trying to grow for the last couple of years is struggling. And part of it is my own fault, I admit. As a botanist and as a plants person and a gardener, I'm ashamed to admit it, but I've neglected these trees and I don't take care of them the way they should. And I can blame, being busy, and which I am, but I feel awful. I feel guilty. But I haven't given up yet, and I have some ideas for this year where I can hopefully kind of stay on top of things. But the main problem with our apple trees, well, two main problems really: soil. The soil here is acidic, rocky, and weak in terms of nutrients. And the second biggest problem, deer. Deer do so much damage to our plants. It's unbelievable the amount of damage they do to our plants. So I've had to fence them. Yeah, and it's been a process to try to keep the deer off our plants. So I haven't given up, and I'm still going to try. So I'm going to go out and look at the apples and see if they need anything, and try again this year to maybe rejuvenate some of them, maybe give up and try some new ones, which I'll talk about more as the season goes on. But we'll see. So let's head out to the apples. I'm out here in the front pasture next to the chickens, or behind the chickens. See the chicken coop. And there's the market garden, still under snow. And this is the orchard area that we've picked out. You can see a bunch of little trees here, and they're pretty sad. So this one right here is a Macintosh, and it's actually probably the healthiest of the bunch, protected by deer fencing, and yeah, it hasn't been browsed too hard, and hopefully made it through the winter. I just planted that last year. Where I'm standing right now was a sort of partner to that one, another Cortland apple. I'm a Mac Cortland girl. I love Macs, and I love Cortlands for baking. So anyway, there's a Cortland right about where I'm standing. And when I put these trees in, I was like, oh, I'll fence them later because, I'm busy. And I forgot about it. And I came out and the Cortland was absolutely trashed. It was fall, the rut. And yeah, the local buck used my Cortland as a marking post. So the Cortland is gone, but the Mac still stands. And then these two nearest trees here, this one's a Cortland and this one's a Mac. They're older, and I haven't ever really got a lot of fruit out of them, sadly. Down lower on the slope are two pears, a red and green Bartlett that I planted last summer or spring. So hopefully those made it through the winter. We'll see what they do this year. I have to fix the fencing a little bit. The wind here has been crazy, so the fencing got moved around a bit. There's a little, I want to say it's a Seckel pear. I can't remember. I'll have to go look that up. That also has not done a whole lot. Then over this way, as we walk in the snow, it's funny, some parts of the farm are bare ground and others are still 6 inches deep in snow. And pardon the helicopter running nearby. Anyway, so this row of trees here are plums, a number of different plums. And let's take a walk and I'll show you. This one, I believe, is an American plum, which will serve as the pollinator for the other plums. And it's just a stick right now. And as you can see, the wind took the fence right over. Thankfully, nothing has bothered it, but I'll have to dig that fence out and put it back up. And then as we walk this way, see if I can not trip. This one was another plum that got absolutely destroyed. I think it was dead, except the bottom growth was still alive. This tall spindle here is dead. So I just, out of pity, I just left it and wanted to see if it would actually grow anything. Probably will dig that out. And then we have these plums that I just planted this year, and this is why I will show you down here. This is why you fence your trees in immediately after you get them in the ground. So right here, you can see there's all kinds of deer damage. I don't know if the camera's going to pick that up, but the bark has been stripped from the trunk of the tree. Sections of it, I'm not sure. And actually, this branch here, there was a branch right here that got snapped off by a deer. And then over here, this one just got shredded by the deer. Absolutely shredded. It's not all the way around on most of the branches, so I'm hopeful there's some life left, but I'm thinking it might be done for. We'll see what happens in the spring. Decided to move where there's a little bit of shade here, so I'm not just like washed out by the sunlight. Such a beautiful day today. So that's my sad, pitiful fruit orchard. And yeah, I have some ideas that I may try this year. I've been thinking about it for a while now. But again, too many things to do, not enough time to do them. I've been reading up a lot on espaliering fruit trees. And so I may try that this year inside the garden, where I have built-in deer fencing. I don't have to worry about deer trashing the fruit trees or the wind blowing over the fencing. The only thing I still have to worry about are voles. So I'll have to wrap the trunk and the trunk base area in hardware cloth and make sure that voles can't get in. But that's easy enough to do. And then I was thinking I'm going to take a cattle panel, 16-foot long cattle panel, and I'll show you this, when I do get around to doing it, and put that on posts, and then espalier a couple of the trees to the panel to grow horizontally, 3 tiers or so of fruit horizontally on the cattle panel. That way they're supported. The wind isn't going to trash them. They're going to be protected from the deer, and the soil is much better in the garden after 7-8 years of gardening. I'll put them down at this end, so there's actually extra soil that has been washed down over the years, and maybe create a little berm, which will help with the soil washing out of the garden, and plant the trees in the berm. That's what I'm thinking. So we'll see how that plan develops, and I will definitely do a video about that when I get to it. Lots more to happen before then. So now I'm going to go walk up to the house, and there's a lilac that needs some attention. Here's my last project for the day, this lilac. Now this is something that was here when we bought the house, and it was probably, a third bigger than it is now when we bought the house. And I originally hacked it down to probably about here with the intention of moving it when I dug out all of the garden stuff that was up against the house. Well, never got around to moving it. And then it grew, and it was really pretty. So I just left it. This is not a common lilac, the typical lilac you see around New England. This is some other species, hybrid or something. The flowers are smaller, a pale, very, very pale lilac, almost pinkish, and the most intense fragrance I've ever smelled on a lilac. It's beautiful when it blooms, but it's too big, and it's too close to the house, and it's too close to the deck. And we have some repairs that have to happen to this foundation wall here, and we can't get in there and do what we need to do. So I need to hack this out. Now, I'm going to go, instead of giving it a pruning like, you know, like a yew or, you know, boxwood, I'm actually going to go in and cut canes down at the base. I want to shrink the footprint of this lilac. It will cost me blooms, obviously, although the stuff that is left still has buds for blooms this upcoming year. So I shouldn't lose too many. But my main objective today is just to hack away at these bottom canes so that it pulls it away from the house and pulls it away from the deck. So we have some breathing room there. To do this, I'll need loppers and I'm going to need my little bow saw. So I'm going to get to work on this. As I'm hacking away, the chickadees have come in. And they're the main reason I want to keep this bush, because we put a feeder out here in the winter. And the chickadees and the titmice have been coming to this bush every day and using it as their launching pad for this little feeder. In a few weeks, this will go away, the feeder. But for now, I don't know if you can see them, but the little chickadees are in here eating. They're so cute. Well, that put up a fight. As you can see, I cut out quite a bit between the house and the base of it. And then I cut out a few more branches that were facing the deck. And I'm not sure if you can see it from that angle, but there's a bit of mildew on the lower part of the deck because it's been shaded for so long. This spring, when it warms up a little bit, we'll pressure wash that. I have 2 more cuts I want to make, but it's going to require a chainsaw. They're the old base of this thing, and they're probably about that thick. And I don't want to wrestle with the bow saw to get those out. So I'll have my husband come with a chainsaw. He's much better at it than I am, and his hands work a lot better than mine do. And he can just zip those out, and that will remove some bulk from that side of the lilac. But this is as far as I'm going right now. Yeah, job done. So it probably didn't look like I did a whole lot, but if you look at this pile here, you can see I took out quite a bit of stuff. This is all going to go into the chip pile. I have a new little chipper that I bought off a neighbor that I'm going to try out. And these are, I think, just the right size. So these will get chipped up for use in the garden. Well, that's it for today's video. I'm going to go in and get some lunch and rest a little bit and tackle the next items on my to-do list. Never-ending chore list here on the farm. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Come back next time and we'll see you then. Bye.